restore it. Having restored it, right, it is also a good place then for you to, through a transparent process, engage the private sector to be able to manage this sustainably. And then this private sector are now in a position perhaps to mobilize more capital and then deploy more innovative technology to be able to do this. And so I agree with you. The only point of disagreement or the only point of departure is what should happen first. What should happen first? So as government, you would take the first step to say, okay, how can I restore some water supply to Enugu, whilst then looking at an intermediate to long-term measure to ensure that, yes, water supply is sustainable in the city of Enugu. That is what it's going to be. And all of these things have to be done transparently. Then you need, even having done that, right, you also need to put in place the water board still needs to continue to exist, because you also need to regulate the activities of these private sector people. You're not going to leave it. And if you don't agree, let me remind us, for instance, that even though you have private telecom companies, for instance, the Nigerian Communications Commission is still there, because you must, as I said from the beginning, you must be careful to protect vulnerable members of society. You must always, in public policy formulation, put in place or take steps to protect vulnerable members of society. It is critical.
I agree. Richard from Aligbo Initiative, please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Ndeba Ekenemon. Sorry, I had a little glitch with the app earlier. Okay, Mr. Frank. I want to touch on questions, some hard questions that really touch on the people directly. Not that all the other questions don't. Specifically on the issue of the Kenyatta market. A video circulated not too long ago. You were at the old market, which was demolished. And you expressed some level of dismay about that. And you were saying something about there would have been a better way of handling it. So for me, this is like a glossy statement. In specific terms, how would you have handled it differently, considering the fact that there's a new Kenyatta market just across the express road at the entrance of the new Independence Layout Phase 2, which the traders were asked to move to. So, but you don't seem to be satisfied with that. So, how would you have handled it differently? Then
Okay.
a quick follow up, since this is about commerce, industry, and job creation, I'd like you to also look at, we see today the Hotel Presidential, the deplorable state that it is in today. And that is just one out of the so many moribund industries that were creating jobs, and they were platforms for creating jobs and engaging youth meaningfully. What will be your approach towards reviving these industries that are just lying fallow, dilapidated? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Excellent question. Now let me just be clear. I am a keen advocate of law and order, and I recognize the prerogative of government to regulate town planning. But I, however, condemn what I call the wanton destruction of livelihoods at Kenyatta Market, Enugu, in the early hours of the 4th of August, 2022. And the reason is very simple. I am not against government exercising its prerogative or its authority. If you go out there today, go on your own, speak to the traders, and you see the agony and the pain that they are going through. Because A good number of them were not even allowed to retrieve their goods before these places were destroyed and pulled down. So their wares, their goods were completely destroyed together with this, in this demolition. And I don't know about you, but where we are today economically, nationally, and at the state level is very, very dire. People are barely managing to earn a living. People are barely managing to survive. I think it's marks of gross insensitivity for you not to at least allow citizens to retrieve their wares from their stores before you demolish it. It's most insensitive. Now, you ask me, how could it have been managed? Under these kinds of circumstances, given the age of Kenyatta market, what I call intense stakeholder engagement matters. Who are these stakeholders? The traders in the market, the associations of these traders, sector by sector, ought to have been engaged over a period. But even before then, a viable alternative ought to have been put in place. You say, oh, a place has been provided for them. I don't know where you live. If you're in Enugu, if the others who are in Enugu, please, I would like us to have an appointment. Let us go out tomorrow or the day after. Let us go to the so-called news site. And let us come back to this audience and tell them the level of readiness of that news site. Let me also tell you something else you do not know. You may want to find out those who have already received allocation for those places for the parts of the market in the new area that have already been concluded, that have already been completed. It is the usual people. It is the big men and the big women. It is their friends and family, their sons and daughters. They are the ones that have taken it and who are now reselling doing the third round of sale at exorbitant rates. The lands, some of the bare lands are exchanging hands the second or third or fourth time, and these traders cannot afford it. And so a viable alternative is critical to manage this kind of situation. Access to such alternative, transparent access to these alternatives would be most helpful. Intense public communication. For instance, would it have made a difference if in the 2 weeks running up to this time, government decided to say, listen, 5-6 times a day, all the radio stations in Enugu would be making these announcements. Please, this is the final warning. We are going to demolish this. Or even having arrived on the day of the demolition, rather than stop people from accessing their stores and cordoning the place off with police, you said, okay, please, we are giving you till midday, pack your things because we're going to demolish it. The bulldozers are here. But please speak to these people. I went there. I was outside the state. I drove back and I went straight to that place. And I saw these people as they were struggling, scavenging in the ruins, trying to see whatever they could retrieve. This is the situation. Government must exercise authority with empathy. There's nothing more important than the interest of the citizens that you represent. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I am not suggesting in any way that government should not take action, but such action must be taken with empathy. And destroying economic value like this in a very difficult economic time, to my mind, was most unwise.
Okay.
I completely agree with him. Okay, Fechi, go ahead.
There's the other part of the moribund industries.
Okay,
yes, please. Yes, the other part of the moribund industries. Okay, fine. So,
and I guess,
you look at it.
Mr. Frank, before you continue, the last budget, of course, state budgets are made public. And I went through our budget in the state government, and I think I saw about 100, was it million or billion earmarked for a presidential hotel or of some sort. And I think it appeared twice. A lot of duplicate allocations to different moribund industries, or would I say state assets or liabilities, in fact, in a true sense. So I want you to just bear this in mind while answering Richard's question.
Thank you so much. Now, the first thing I'm going to own up to is that, you see, the times in which the Obama administration existed, it's long gone. We're in the 21st century. And so for me, am I going to take government funds to go and build a hotel at this time? My answer is no. But if you look at Hotel Presidential, where it is situate at the moment, where it is located at the moment, it is prime land. There's no land more prime than where Hotel Presidential is sitting today. And so I believe that hospitality and tourism are very, very important sectors in the economy of Enugu. So you can imagine even the Opera governments recognized it way back. They recognized it. And so I believe that I will encourage private sector intervention in that area on a mutually agreeable basis. There's that land holds significant value, and I will do everything within my powers to ensure that we find a reputable on global hotel chain that can take it over. And so
what value does it hold, please? Sorry to cut you.
Well, I'm not an expert valuer, but looking at that property because of its location, right? I'll be surprised if that piece of land does not fetch.
I think Frank is having network issues. Uche, can you hear me, or is it from me?
Yeah, I think so too. I guess someone might have.
I think it's from his end.
Okay.
Fish, I just shared the.
Okay,
he's back.
Valuation on that land where Hotel Presidential sits now, and I'm talking about the land. I'm not talking about the shell. I'm not talking about the shell.
Sir Frank, can you hear me?
I'm not talking about the shell because I'm not so sure how much. I'm not so sure.
Mr. Frank.
I'm not so sure
that he cannot hear you.
The integrity
just allow him
of
to
that structure has not already been severely undermined. Plus, perhaps even the original design, the size of the rooms, all of these things may no longer really be conducive to today's hospitality business.
Okay. Can you hear me, Mr. Frank? We lost you for
Do you hear
seconds.
Me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I think maybe it's possible you have network issues or calls are coming in. Maybe one of those two. So you should just check.
Can you hear me, Frank? Can you hear me? Okay, I think you have to remove him as a speaker, Ifechijere, then bring him back.
Then I'll add him.
Yes.
Did you hear?
So while we are waiting to get Mr. Frank back online on the stage, we want to acknowledge those who have sent requests. We will eventually get to you to ask your questions, members of the audience. Thank you.
Do you hear me?
Thank you. Yes, I can hear you.
So sorry.
I think you're having network issues or calls are coming in, either of the two.
I think I didn't even know I just stopped hearing. I'm sorry. But I'm back on now. So
we lost you for a moment, really, even while you were talking.
Oh wow. So would you but did you
before you continue, please, if you're on this space, share, let people know what's happening here. It's a roundtable space. Just inform people across your timeline to join in. Thank you. Please go ahead, Mr. Frank. You're talking about Hotel Presidential.
Yes, so I was saying that there are a number of issues that we must consider. One is I was making the point that I was really focused on the value of the land. And I said that I couldn't vouch for the integrity of that structure at the moment. And then again, even the design of the hotel originally in the 50s, I don't know how, I'm not so sure how suitable it is to modern times. And so it's likely that the best we can get out of that place is just the land value. But government is not going to put its money there. It's going to be a private sector, and we'll just strive to negotiate the best deal for the people of Enugu.
So let me put a perspective here. In 2020 budgets, by Enugu state government, the one Ifechi Dere made reference to. 500 million naira was earmarked for facility enhancement at Nweke Lake Hotel, 1.5 billion naira for rehabilitation of Presidential Hotel, 1.7 billion for extension of the construction of pavilions at Opera Square, 2.5 billion for completion of construction, landscaping and furnishing of International Conference Center, 3 billion naira for special intervention on infrastructure. So these are the things that we are earmarked in 2020 Enugu state budget. So the question is, if you come in, I mean, what exactly will you be doing with these government-owned infrastructure? Will you be privatizing them, or will you continue with this type of the previous government, used?
Okay, well, thank you so much. Two issues, pop out from this question. One is, I really must commend the quality of engagement here and just the amount of work that you guys have done preparatory to this time. So I hope that you'd go a step further in really tracking some of these allocations to these institutions that you've mentioned, and for us to see where this money is released, and in what, if they were released, did the people of the state get value for money? One thing I can assure you is this, that government will endeavor to stay out of business and then encourage the private sector, where we find worthy partners to really, really be the ones to take over these institutions, right? That would be my preferred approach. Because if you look at Nweke Lake is one of the most beautiful hotels in Nigeria. Never mind that there's been a lot of land encroachment on its space, but it's very well done. It's it was very well conceived, very well built, and I believe it is a viable enterprise. And I have no reason to continue to allocate money to that hotel when a private sector entity can take it over. You look at a Hotel Presidential. Well, I don't know where that money was applied. If it was applied, if it was released, I have no idea. But you and I know, passing there, that there's no sign of any kind of activity there. So if 1.5 billion naira was spent there, the question is, did the people of Enugu State get value for it? You spoke about the what's the other one now? The International Conference Center has been abandoned for years, and such a pity, because again, the state is the loser. The people of the state, the economy of the state, are the loser for it. That's an international conference center. There's even a hotel complex attached to it, and if that place was built up in the last
network issues.
Yeah, I guess
private sector through open processes, open and transparent processes, to really find a company or group of companies that will offer the best value to the people of Enugu and the government of Enugu in order to really get it going. And that way, we would concentrate our best efforts on the basic infrastructure, healthcare, roads, schools that will, and housing that, really would benefit the majority of the people of our state, rather than allocating money to businesses which, if they were well run, would actually yield dividends for the improvement of the welfare and the well-being of the people. So thank you so much for that excellent question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frank. Can you hear me? Because we lost you for some seconds again. But can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Frank? Okay, I guess that one started again.
If you're on Frank Nweke's team, please direct him or tell him privately that he's having network issues.
Can you hear me, please? Frank? Okay, I think you have to do what you did before, Ifechi.
Yes, I can hear you.
We can hear you, but we don't know if you can hear us. All right, if you do that just now, remove him as a speaker and bring him back.
I've added him back.
Okay, we are going to be looking at in specifics what he intends to do to create job opportunity, because it's also part of the problem. We've looked at the access to water. He spoke about foundational infrastructure and knowledge-based economy, and we are going to be looking at in specifics what he intends to do in this area. Is he back now?
Are you back?
Okay, I think he's
if
back.
Maybe this is a clear.
No, he's back. I'm sure. Can you hear me, Frank?
Mr. Frank, can you
unmute yourself, please? He has not unmuted himself. Can you unmute yourself, Mr. Frank? Okay.
broadband infrastructure?
Okay.
So Uche, let me be asking you questions. You'll be speaking on his behalf, Abby. Are there questions on the timeline?
Okay. Please, if you have any question, kindly use this hashtag, and of course, request. We'll open up for other for listeners to make their contribution. Of course, ask their questions. But until then, if you have anything you may want to contribute or question you may want to ask, use the hashtag, and of course, spread this across your timeline. Thank you. So, Mr. Frank, can you hear us now? Please, if you have access to, I think he has a very serious network issue. I guess he's back now. Mr. Frank, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. What's the issue, sir? What's the issue, sir? Is it network or calls are coming in? I think I've lost him again. We're seeing your request, everyone. We're taking the questions very, very soon.
Do you hear me?
Can Mr. Frank hear us? Can you hear me, Mr. Frank?
I can hear you. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please, kindly speak a little bit louder.
I have my device on loudest actually. Do you still hear me?
Can you hear him?
Yes, I could, but it's very, very faint. And I think there's an echo.
It's because you are not muted.
Okay, let's hear from him again. Mr. Frank, kindly unmute yourself and speak.
All right.
Ifechi, please kindly remove him and bring him back again. And please, if you have access to him, just DM him and tell him that we can hear him. Remove him and bring him back.
Okay. So I'm accepting requests to speak now, so we can just hear from people. He may be listening but unable to speak. So let's just take some suggestions from people.
Okay, let me start with Afam. Afam said, what does he intend to do via looted funds? Is he going to let it slide or go after the looters? Now, this is coming from Afam, and this is from Mazi Chassis. He says, My question is about how he plans to generate funds to finance all these his plans. Okay. Then the next person here says that there is a new generation of Nigerians tired of the norm and no longer interested in the political parties anymore. They are interested in the individual. You will see a lot of labor. Yes, we can hear you very loud and clear now. So Ifechi, go ahead. Okay, we have questions from our listeners. Number one was
before that. Let's take some. So please mute your mic.
I'm not the one. I think it's from Henry. Please, if you come on stage, kindly mute yourselves.
Good evening, everyone.
You see, if you come on stage, mute your mic until you are called upon. Else we'll remove you. This is why we don't accept a lot of requests. You just come on stage and start talking.
Mr. Frank, can you hear me now? So
yes, I can hear you. Yes, Ifechi, I can hear you.
Okay. So are you in Enugu? Maybe this is God telling you to invest in broadband infrastructure.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm in Enugu.
Okay. All right. So let's just get to the meat of the conversation. What usually strikes up or comes up, the major problem of Enugu State is the poverty rate. We can ignore it, we can deny it, we can say, oh, and generalize the poverty situation and say, yeah, well, Nigeria is poor and half of its population is poor. So, but for Enugu State domestically, what are the major economic problems? Or let's twist it this way. Maybe you should highlight major economic advantages of Enugu State and how you plan to, exploit them for the people so that you drastically reduce the poverty rate in the state.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. For me, the greatest and the most potent economic advantage that Enugu has is the young people of Enugu. In your introductory remarks, you mentioned the cluster of schools that we have, which have naturally pulled a lot of young people to this state, and a lot of young people here are indigenous of the Enugu State as well. So this is, I do not believe that any state or any country can make progress if it does not invest in its people. And so what for me must happen is how we can leverage the youth of these people, how we can really really impart the requisite skills, how we can really turn Enugu into a technology hub for this country by investing in tech infrastructure. Look at the incident we just had now. The constant disconnection of this call, and I have a few stories to share. Sometime about 2 years ago, there was a gentleman that I used to sit with on the board of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, and he had reached out to government asking for some opportunity to negotiate a right of way, and he wanted me to intervene because it was taking so long. And I reached out, and months upon months, it was excuse after excuse after excuse. And then eventually what happened, they had to go elsewhere. They had to go to a neighboring state to go and do this, right? And the reason was very simple. These people could not understand the opportunity that this investment provided to really lay the foundations for a knowledge-driven economy. And yet you have the young people of this country, of this state, who are constantly leaving the state once they have graduated from school in search of greener pastures. But yet I believe that we can bring the world to them here by simply having in place the right technology infrastructure, and then leveraging our considerable network of contacts nationally and then also around the world to really bring global companies to this place. All right. And there are already some of these companies functioning on their own here, for instance. Some of these companies are already functioning here. But what do we have? Some of these people are basically antagonized, okay, rather than being supported with the right regulation, with the political cover by government. So I repeat, the young people of this state are our greatest resource. and will do everything within my powers in the ways that I have described to really help to employ them after they've acquired the skills in partnership with the people that we're going to bring to this state. The second area is the area of agriculture. We have very, very arable land. As I'm speaking to you, Uzuwani in the Enugu North Central Zone has, tens of thousands of arable land, which is totally unutilized. So whilst the overall government realized these opportunities in the 50s and 60s, regrettably, successor administrations have not seen that opportunity as well. You go towards Enugu West, Ezagu, with its hills and valleys and very lush green vegetation almost all year round, provide considerable opportunity for ranching. All right. You go towards Aniri, it's in fact the name speaks for itself. It again provides great opportunity for agriculture. You go towards Enugu East Central Zone, in Nara, in Nome, in Mbrubo, in Oboka, there's a arid land. What major investors in agriculture are looking for are the following. Can we secure land title? Can you guarantee security, right? Can you help us to really, promote good community relations with our hosts and things like that? Those are the things that these people are looking for. And for instance, under the administration of Governor Chime, some Mexicans were brought to Enugu. And at some point, Enugu have started to actually export pineapple out of this state. But again, what happened? Because of unfriendly government policy, unfriendly government behavior, they had to leave. And so the state lost opportunity. I also have a lot of other people who are invested in OG area, some of them who are also invested in Ozuwai, but they're suffering again because of insecurity. So these are some of the things that we are going to really, really focus on to create jobs there for our people. Of course, for whatever it's worth, I'm not mindful that Enugu is also endowed with a lot of oil and gas resources, a lot of coal. These things are there, and we're going to work very hard to ensure that the state gains recognition as a state that has these resources in order to really get whatever is due to the state, accruing to the citizens of the state. One area that is so important, to our economy is the creative sector, the entertainment sector. You look at Nollywood. Nollywood started here in Enugu, but today a lot of these movies are made outside the state. Okay, and I'm determined to restore the lost glory of the place of Enugu in the history of Nollywood in our state. You look at entertainment, there are few Igbo musicians of note that were not either born here or who did not hone their skills here in Enugu. Again, so we have so much that we can leverage upon to really create jobs for the young people of our state. And one could go on, but I will stop here for now.
Okay, thank you, Frank. You mentioned oil and gas. I'm very intrigued. In what respect do you plan to, revive oil and gas or make it something of note? Like you said to get what position Enugu State to get what due. Do you mean the 13% derivation from the federal government?
Yes, absolutely. Because states who are so recognized, states that are so recognized, have the benefit from this. So if we have these resources, why can the state not also get its own accruals?
Let me ask you: do you think the gains of exploiting oil and gas in Enugu State would outweigh the problems it may cause or it may trigger? So presently, before you exploit, you need capital. Exploit on that scale, you need capital. And presently, the IOCs, oil IOCs, are limiting the amount of capital they give states, governments, or whatever private institutions that want to invest in oil. Why? Because they are streamlining it now and diversifying to renewable energy. So there's now some kind of limitation in capital available for oil and gas, and we are seeing the amount of would I say theft going on. The fact that Nigeria in this would I say oil surge, in this unprecedented oil surge because of this Russian Ukrainian crisis. So a lot of oil producing nations, gained in this period, but Nigeria did the opposite. We lost out. We could not produce what's due, or what we used to, the number of barrels we used to produce in a day. And you still want to venture into such. So imagine, you project, we are battling with a lot of foreign security issues right now in Enugu State. So you want to project Enugu State to be one that is lucrative to these thieves, to these people, to these, oil merchants who come and steal, cargo and all that. And apart from that, and making, look at what is happening in PH today, creating cancer villages in different places, because at the end of the day, there will be mismanagement, because because of the Nigerian culture. I don't know how you see this as very lucrative to invest in, because it will be time consuming and capital intensive. So why should Enugu State be going into oil and gas when there are other important things that we can go into, like what you had mentioned before?
Yes, I mean, Ifeche, for me, these are all opportunities, right? And you notice that what I started from, what I consider to be priority, right? And so the oil and gas deposits that we have here, they are here, okay? And for me, I believe that if the state has these resources, why not exploit it? And the fact that, and I think that in exploiting it, we have a lot to learn from the experience of a lot of other states, and then the experiences of the nation naturally, generally. And so you make very important points, right? Very, very important points. But let me also remind you something that is happening. You can see that when you talk about even these environmental issues, whilst they are valid points, right? But these environmental issues have festered because, again, of the failure of government. Okay, and so if, for instance, you put in place the right regulations and say that even within our state, these are the things that are acceptable or not acceptable, of course, the people will have to respect it, because the companies that you're bringing, whether local or international, where they come from, they dare not do the kinds of things they do in Nigeria. And so it's not about they are not knowing what to do, but because they are allowed to do whatever they want to do in our country. That's the reason why they do it. If they do it elsewhere, they're either completely banned or they are fined in such a way that they could almost literally close shop. So I agree with you, but again, I believe that with the right leadership, we can ensure that we mitigate some of the impact that you have pointed out. So my strategy is to exploit every opportunity, economic opportunity available to the state to improve its finances, and then deploy these finances for the benefit of our people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Frank. Sorry to stretch this, but Nigeria's oil system and oil sector is based on the rentierist, of course, oil sector. It barely serves the ordinary people. If you want to be very honest with yourself, oil and gas in Nigeria, even when you're done 8 years after, there will be some kind of mismanagement that will outlive you and outlive even generations after you. So what I'm saying in essence is, I don't think it's lucrative. I don't think it's something that should be in the plan or in the works, because it definitely will not benefit people. But again, we can go into
well, it's I mean, I hear you, but I think it's a matter of opinion. But in summary, I said every economic opportunity available to the state, I intend to exploit it as governor to make sure that whatever is due to us as a state, that we take advantage of it for the benefit of the greater majority. Thank you so much.
So let me tell you something, Mr. Frank. Mr. Frank. Uche, please hold on. So what I think possibly that would be more engaging, more encompassing, that's the one that trickles down to the ordinary people. Of course, we know that SMEs make up about 90% of the economy of Nigeria. That's what thrives. In fact, it creates about 80% employment in Nigeria. So the very fact that possibly that Enugu State is down in the index of poverty, or high in the index of poverty, because maybe there are low improvements or investment in SMEs. So oil and gas would do the opposite of that. And let me make a suggestion, or let me state something regarding development and economics in Enugu State. Have we thought about intentional creation of possibly an economic corridor along the Enugu axis and North Central. So for instance, the global sesame production is forecast to reach about 9.26 million tons by 2040. And the United States actually imports, not exports, imports annually about $116 million worth of sesame. Canada, about $24 million. China, $17 million. Germany, 16. I can go on and on. So aside crying that we are landlocked, how can we position ourselves to drive interstate partnerships with states like Benue State to extract sesame seeds, fruits, and situate the industries in Enugu State?
Thank you very much, Ifechere. I mean, you make very, very important points. And I think that basically what you're doing is drilling down on the my statement about the need for us to really exploit the agricultural value chain in our state. I've spoken copiously about the hectarage of arable land that we have. Now, one thing that I'm also not going to do is this, right? I'm basically going to encourage investment. I mean, that agriculture is treated as an investment, as a business, right? It's not going to be some social enterprise where government is coming in and then you got money to people and then for them to go and farm and the money disappears. That's not what I'm talking about. It is to create a conducive environment for you to attract investors in agriculture and then provide the right incentives, access to land, titles, quick settlement of disputes, and then of course security to really help them to protect their investment. And for me, the kinds of what you're describing are significant opportunities for private investment. Now, the beauty of it is that people who invest here, all right, by investing, they have opportunity to take off produce, different kinds of produce from our own citizens, from our own farmers in different parts of this country. All right. And Enugu occupies a very, very strategic position. And Enugu, it has access to almost about 6 to 8 states, right? And we're just in the center, and if you look at it from 9th Mile to the other parts of the country. So you make very, very important points. And it is something that I'm prepared to embrace and then facilitate. So okay. I thank you so much for them. Thank you.
Before we start accepting people to on stage to ask you their direct questions, just final remark on this economic issue. So this book I'm reading, or I've read, The Prosperity Paradox, and then they make a point which is very salient with a lot of important examples, global examples. They said, so you need strategic placements, recognition of the advantages of your state, and eventual communication, emphasis on communication of these advantages to get capital into the state. So for a country like Singapore, they have about 22 offices of their Economic Development Board across all countries. And then they go telling them that, see, Singapore is a home for business, talent, and innovation. That is why they have the amount of FDI. So they don't go looking for loans from IMF or from these places. They go looking for partnerships in the US with people who are ready to have capital. See, like my senior friend, Jerome Okolo would say, he would say, see, there's a lot of capital in the world, and you think there's no money, but there's a lot of capital in the world. It just needs the right solution to fix. Once you strategically place Enugu State, right, and you keep talking about it, the potentials, you keep visiting, you keep talking about it, you have, in fact, a strategic office saddled with that responsibility to project the advantages of the state. I believe capital that will come in. In fact, in this book, like I referenced, even when you have all these conditions available in the state, they will not come if they don't know about it. So how do you intend to communicate the advantages of Enugu State?
Well, thank you so much, Ifechere. These are excellent questions. Just to remind you of my background, okay? First of all, one of the things I've done in my lifetime is as a Minister for Information, and I had the privilege of implementing what we call the Heart of Africa project, which was a strategic initiative to to tell Nigeria's story, to really tell the story of reforms and the opportunities that we had in Nigeria. And so for me, experience matters a lot. We must sell our state. We must really take our story out there. Enugu State is a beautiful, beautiful state. We have the benefit of one of the youngest populations in the state. The cluster of schools that we have here, the beautiful scenery we have here, all of these things are very, very. Then we have to communicate strategic way, deliberately telling our story in order to attract people. I see you read a lot. That's fantastic. I don't know if you've read the book From Third World to First, which is the story of Singapore, which was written by their first prime minister, Lee Kuan Yew. If you read it, then you would see there was a particular quote that's stuck in my head up till today, and which was, look, that he said that he had written the book for the benefit of young Singaporeans who grew up believing that law and order was a natural state of things. And because young people had grown up to really, and they were talking about certain freedoms and certain things that they are not allowed to chew gum, they're not allowed to do this and do this. And so he decided to tell them the story of where they were coming from and where certain things had to happen. But I digress a bit. Why I'm going to, with respect to Singapore, is it brings us back firmly to what leadership can do, what vision can do, what love of the people can do, right? And what disciplined leadership can do, what it means when you have a leader who understands executive responsibility, who understands executive authority, and deploys it for the benefit of the people. And so, from a backwater as a country, they have emerged as the country with one of the highest GDPs in the world and with one of the highest quality of life in the world. All of these things had to do with leadership. And because they had really, cleaned out their space, they had actually put the laws and regulations in place. They had trained their people to have the skills. They had, they stamped out. They really built their bureaucracy to make sure that these people understood what public service meant before they now started inviting the world. So the world is coming to Singapore because of all the things that you said and because of all the things that I have reinforced what you said with. That is it. And so for Enugu to actually get on the global map, we must do that basic work, clean up the city, have a leadership that you can trust, put in place the right regulations for different business sectors, for different sectors of industry, put it in place. Keep your word, okay? Ensure that there's security. Ensure that there's security. Encourage young people to acquire the right skills, support them, prepare them to receive the world. Let me tell you, the person who has done something very close to what we just described in Nigeria. Should I tell you? There are two states actually. The first state is Cross River. Former Governor Donald Duke understood that he was, that there wasn't much much endowment in that state. And then he just identified the strategic advantages that they had. And he felt, that, listen, agriculture was one. And secondly, he felt that he could position Calabar as the entertainment capital of Nigeria. And on several trips with him in the company of President Obasanjo outside the country, especially when we visited the Caribbeans, that was when he first saw these carnivals that you now saw there. And subsequently, he engaged them and brought these people to Nigeria to train his own people, trained his people to make those costumes. But let me tell you what is more important. He cleaned up the city of Calabar in partnership with the people. And even though Duke is not there today, Calabar remains one of the cleanest cities in this country. Secondly, he trained his people on how to make money from the carnivals, such that he got them to renew their homes, to repaint their homes, to fix their homes, so that during those Christmas carnivals, they could rent out their apartments, earn more money in foreign exchange. The hotels are usually fully booked. These things were deliberate. These things cannot happen by accident. That is the point I'm making. So leadership is key. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So Enugu can become like Singapore, but the right leadership will have to be put in place. The people will have to partner with government to make this work. And I don't see a shortcut. There's no shortcut to any of these things. It is leadership.
I agree.
And it is partnership.
I agree.
Yeah.
I very much agree. So, Uche, I think we should start taking some questions. So we will take two at a time so that Frank would answer. Just take two questions straight then.
So we start.
Frank would answer. And you would also take from the timeline.
Yeah, we start with the people, and after that we go straight to Diego. So with the people, if you can hear me, unmute yourself and ask your question. Make it
1
very
minute.
brief, please. With the people, go ahead.
1 minute. Oh, okay. I have a whole lot to say, and but maybe I should just go straight to the question. Okay, before then, Mr. Frank, good to see you again, and I want to thank you for elevating the conversation. You know, I think this is the first time we are having this kind of a campaign period that governorship aspirants are even coming out to speak with the people and then discuss issues at this level. So we've talked about psychophancy in Enugu, the billboards that you see around and all that. And these are tied to the poverty in the state. So some time ago, the Commissioner for Youth stated that we have over 1,000 young people that are appointed by the state government. And then, so you see like 600 executive assistants, another number, 500 or so of technical assistants and all that. And these people do nothing. And so this young people, you know, they are the one you see carrying placards and coming to government house to sing praises. So what are you going to do if you become governor? What are the practical steps you're going to take to this over 1,000 people that are going to be out of job by next year? So what are you going to do? You looking back before Sullivan came in, we know the amount of you that were on the street of Enugu, the violence and all that. And then Sullivan came in with solutions that employed people, not just as government workers, you know, but people were getting jobs because Enugu had investments were coming in, so people were working. But now for 7 years, no investment, no nothing. So what are you going to do when these young people are out there in the street doing nothing? How do you plan step by step to engage people, engage this youth that are going to be out of work, who are just praise singers? What are your plans for youth engagement and creation of wealth in the state? Thank you.
Thank you. I think he's still connecting. With the people, you wanted to make other statements. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah. You know, I just wanted to point out a few things that Frank said, which I don't think
okay. Let me give you some seconds to express yourself.
No, okay. One. I keep going back to the Brewer's scenario that the Chimaroki's administration. Yeah, I can hear you.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Okay, so I lost you for a moment. So I don't know if you would like
with
to
the
reiterate
people,
your
he was
question,
asking you a question.
Okay.
I think we should just summarize it.
I think let me just summarize what he said. What his question was, so these psychophants, these people that go to greet Ogoanye every 2 market days. So when you come into power, and of course you relieve them of their very important duties, what alternative do you have for them in the job market? How would you keep them employed? So that was what he asked, and he was still making an extra statement before you came in. So please go ahead. Like I said, 30 seconds. Read the people.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that, you know, we keep hearing about the Chimaroki's administration attracting the Amabrewil investment, you know, which the land was bought in 1993. So if the land was bought in 1993, they actually didn't attract it, you know, and Nigeria Brewery was already there at Nsude, Nightmare Nsude, with their fifth industry, with their fifth industry. Ama was the sixth, so they did not actually attract it. And if they did attract that investment, what other things did they put up? Over 70% of people who work in Ama right now reside in Enugu. 90 Mile is a growing city. For over 30 years, you can look at how 90 Mile is. Nothing significant has happened in 90 Mile, even with this level of investment. So what then, what if they planned all this investment, why didn't we have like a housing estate in 90 Mile? Why didn't we plan, okay, now 90 Mile gives water to Enugu for all those periods. 90 Mile don't have water to Ajari. He mentioned about Ajari. Ajari is at 90 Mile. 90 Mile still don't have water to date. And then we are talking about water scarcity in Enugu metropolis. Because when we talk about this water thing, we are just focusing on Enugu. Now, another question will be, what is the water investment worth in Enugu right now? What are you going to sell to investors to invest in? What is needed to bring it up, to a viable product that people can invest in? So these are the conversations we should be having. Then on urban renewal, the Kayata market, for 16 years, the government have been trying to move Kayata market. Now it has happened, but maybe they didn't follow all the rules laid down for that movement to happen. What are you going to do? What are you going to do for urban renewal? Holy Ghost is a menace. What are you going to do about that? So I don't know how to put that, but in all, it's not just about. We need practical steps. Practical steps. One, this is what you're going to do about this. These are what you're going to do about that. So for job creation, when you come into office next year and these psychophants are out in the street, what are you going to do to put them back to work or to create alternatives for them? Thank you.
Peter Obi's black captain.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Frank.
Okay, can I?
Let's take 2 questions.
Okay. No, I thought.
No, not yet. Please, let's take. It's gone. All right, please go ahead and respond. Mr. Frank is having network issues again, so I've invited him to speak again. Apologies, please, for these hitches. If we're in Nigeria, we should understand somehow. Please. Uche is also out.
Okay, looks like Frank is back.
No, he's not.
Oh, okay. I thought I was seeing him on stage.
Okay. Trudy Obi, you're raising your hand. Do you want to speak even while he may not be listening? He may be listening anyways, but you want to go ahead and speak?
Of course, so let me just speak. Thank you. First and foremost, to say quickly, I really enjoy these platforms. I'm here in the U.S., so this is my way of getting engaged in the polity in Nigeria. So thank you for that. Definitely, it's a good thing. 2 things that have been mentioned that I really enjoyed. It's just the policy directives that this conversation has taken. And of course, the 2 things I'd like to just focus on infrastructure is obviously very important. And obviously, we all want good roads in the States as well, as in Nigeria speaking as well. But I know that one thing that has afflicted the country and Enugu in general has been the culture of maintenance. And we can say that we want to have these roads built as they should be built. But I would like to get, Mr. Nweke's, I guess, ideas and ways of ensuring that his, his department of planning, his department of planning, how they will continue to maintain these roads, the plan to maintain these roads every year to ensure that it will keep costs down in terms of building a new road whenever there's another one, knowing that there's a specific and year-long plan throughout his administration, and not just his administration, but for the future, to ensure that these roads are an infrastructure and as well that goes into water are kept up to date, are kept well, so that the costs of building are reduced, which will not only save the state a lot of money, but also continue to provide jobs for people who want to get involved in these departments and maintain the infrastructure that the people can enjoy within the states. Something I would also like to touch on would be the field of agriculture. Agriculture, especially with what's happening in Ukraine, is now getting a lot of attention. I do agree that once you produce to feed your people, that alleviates a lot of problems. As mentioned, as Mr. Nweke mentioned, there's plenty of land in Enugu to cultivate good agriculture, not only on the usual food crops, but also cash crops as well, and areas to explore and put investment into that. I am curious as to his specific plans to not only promote agriculture, but to really engage the current farmers on hand to find ways to improve their technique or introduce them to other crops, and perhaps move into not just growing agricultural food, but as well as to perhaps branch out into other forms of agro-based industries such as agrotourism, brewing, and the likes of that. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chudi. Mr. Frank, you're welcome. Uche, you're welcome. Frank, can you hear me? So you take the questions, please. Uche Okoye. You're also having network issues.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Loud and
Okay.
clear.
You're welcome.
All right.
Hello, can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Frank, I can hear you. Did you get the
Can you still
question?
hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yes, the
hear you.
network is a bit crazy here. Yeah, so
All right.
where are we? Because I wasn't hearing anything at all. I think the last thing I heard was the gentleman that was asking about the Ama Brewery.
Okay. Yes, and afterwards, can you?
Oh dear.
Yeah, I think he cannot hear you, Ifechi. So and I was also late to Chudi's contribution. Chudi, can you just summarize what he said?
What he said was, how do we intend, or how would Mr. Frank maintain routes so that you don't go back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
Okay,
Frank, the
you're
last question, the last speaker was asking how you are going to maintain roads. Now,
build
do
more
you have any
roads
plan?
so that you don't
Yeah,
waste
build
government
more.
resources doing the same thing over again. And then the second question he asked was, helping the people not to rely on
dear.
subsistence farming.
Oh, then the network is.
Okay.
The network is. Hello. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh,
Loud
dear.
and clear.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay. So you said the last gentleman was asking about roads.
Yes. How do you intend maintaining roads, building roads,
Oh, dear.
and maintaining them?
How do you intend to maintain roads, build roads? He can hear me, but he can't hear you. I think
Oh,
that's
dear.
the
Okay.
problem.
Okay. So fine. I mean, for me, roads are very, very important for economic development. And I believe that it is important that even the existing roads that link the different parts of the state, one will have to deliberately maintain those roads, deliberately maintain them. Now, there's one thing that I can assure the people of Enugu State, and that is that I'm going to move away from that tendency to leave roads until they have completely been destroyed by the elements before you start awarding contracts for them. Way, way back, decades and decades ago, our forefathers had something called the Public Works Department in the various ministries of works. And their duty was to ensure that existing road infrastructure were maintained. So anytime that any pothole showed up, their duty was to move very quickly. And this way, the roads were maintained, and then the commuters had smooth ride, and people transporting goods and services were actually, they could commute with ease. And then it also helped to really save government money, because rather than wait until the entire roads have collapsed, killing people, destroying vehicles, that you actually nip these damages in the bud, and then help to ensure efficient use of public resources. Now, one thing that I'm going to do also is to open up new areas. And then the whole idea is to link up, high productivity areas with the markets in the, wherever those markets may be. And so I'm not going to just build infrastructure for just the building's sake. No, I'm not going to do that just so that is because you built a road here. No, but we would prioritize those roads to make sure that we are linking areas of high productivity to the major markets, in an orderly basis. And so if we're able to do some this year, the following year, we would identify other roads. And then the following year, we'll identify other roads whilst trying to ensure equity of sorts across the zone. So that point is excellent. It is key to economic development, and it is going to be a major priority of government.
Okay, so just respond to with the people his other questions. The Ama
Do you still hear me?
Yes. What was the question? What was the question, please? Just give me the question so that I will relate to
there's no water in 9th Mile. There's no water.
No, well, this is Frank speaking here. I was responding to what you told me was the question he asked.
No, I got the question. I'm extracting more questions because obviously you can't hear Ifechi. So they're asking, there is no water in 9th Mile currently. So they're asking what exactly do you plan to do over there? And Ifechi, also, you didn't point out the second version of the question of Chuka. I think he was asking about farmers. Yes.
Yeah,
what exactly was the question?
How do you intend to remove the people or take people out of subsistence farming and put them in to diversify in the commercial aspect of farming? So it's not just it's farming and eating, but farming and producing for exports. That was what he
farming at an industrial level to the point of
okay. All right. The second question that came followed up was how do you intend to upscale farming in Enugu State, not just farming and selling? How do you intend to industrialize it? How do you intend to put more money in the hands of farmers? And do you have any actual plan on ground on this? Then I have a very important question in my DM, and this person is asking if you are aware of the pension that is being owed by the current government. I don't know if you are aware of the extent of the debts in terms of pension and gratuity. Do you have any idea of that? And if you do you intend to clear it when you come in, or are you going to continue from where the predecessor stopped?
Well, first of all, the issue of pensions and gratuity is something that is also very, very close to my heart. And I really believe that a laborer is worthy of his wages. I think it's unfair, patently unfair, for people to spend their entire life in the service of a people, and then in their old age, when the state should actually reward them, and you don't then have you're not able to receive that reward. And these people are already tired in the twilight of their lives. I think it is most unfair. So what I like to say is that the payment of pension will receive very strong attention from me for the reasons I have just stated. But more importantly, one would strive to really see how we can resolve that problem. And what is it? At the federal level, the pension reforms of I think 2003 or 2004, the pension reforms were actually undertaken to mitigate this problem. And so at the federal level and most parts of Nigeria's private sector, this problem has been resolved in that you have the private fund, you have the private pension companies, and people now make a choice on who they want to keep their pension funds with. And more importantly, government is paying a part of it, and then you are paying a part of it. It is something that I'll be committed to implementing in the entire state to take care of the people who are currently in service, to ensure that they don't have the kind of problems that the retirees currently have. But notwithstanding this, I repeat, I will do everything within my powers to really make sure that pensioners, the existing pensioners, get their entitlements on a timely basis. Question of continuing like with one's predecessor is completely out of it. Completely out of it. And there's something that is even more insidious that most people may not be aware of, and that is the discrimination in the payment of some of these pensions and gratuity. We have very information. We have we have authentic information as to the kind of discrimination that happens depending on where you're from. Certain people are quickly, their gratuities are quickly calculated and paid because they're from somewhere, whereas others, nobody pays such attention to them. Of course, you're doing that in a state, where you are a leader. I can't think of anything more. I'm not so sure that it's a great idea. So pensions are something that will receive my attention very firmly.
All right, let's go over straight to the Animba. Animba, kindly ask your question. After that, then we have, please, if you want to ask a question, raise your hand so that we'll identify you immediately. Animba, make your question, ask your question and your submission, make it very brief.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so my name is Chika Nimba. In today's Nigeria, of course, in today's world, the truth is that when you want to hire a person or a people, you have a picture of that individual or the character of that individual that you want to hire right in your head. You see, the state of the world today, speaks that anyone who is going to represent you should have some certain kind of character, should have some certain kind of networks, and be that individual who will be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with their counterparts anywhere in the world. All right, that's one. A lot of us see Mr. Frank as someone who represents that individual, that Enugu state needs in the now. So my question is, Mr. Frank, sir, could you kindly give us a picture of the kind of Enugu you want to see in the next 4 years, in the next 7 years, and then in the next 10 years? Probably you could as well tell us a particular state anywhere in the world that you want to see Enugu state look like after you've left office. So we'd like to, hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nimba. Thank you so much. Great question. Great question. Now, for me, I'm very, very clear about where we are today, and I need not remind this audience. But the way I've always approached this is I try to be very pragmatic, and I say, listen, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to keep it simple, bearing in mind the state of decay in our state at the moment, and given the current global climate. However, in seeking to provide the most basic infrastructure for our people, my overarching strategy would be to create the kinds of partnerships that would enable us to transform this state. My favorite state in the whole world is actually Singapore. And I love Singapore because of its founder and because of the foundations he laid for Singapore's economic development and how he invested in the human capital to really train up some of the smartest people in the world, and how he trained up their human capital to produce one of the best bureaucracies in the world, and how he really transformed this human capital to become, highly sought after around the world. So for me, Singapore will be my model. And I'm hopeful that by the end of my administration, we would have created one of the cleanest cities in the world. That I hope that it will be a city where the most basic infrastructure will not be a problem for our citizens. I hope that it will be a state where our young people will become better educated, their curriculum will be, of course, transformed, and then they will acquire the skills needed to really compete globally. Now, it is remarkable, for instance, that in spite of government, our people are still thriving that in such a way that if you went to coal camp, there's nothing that you wanted to fabricate that would not be fabricated there. If you go to Genesis Hub, you see what young people are doing there. You go to different different parts of this city, you find that young people are managing to survive in spite of government. So the question for me is just imagine for a moment when there's a deliberate and conscious effort to create the right academic environment, to create the right policies, to just inspire our people to really, and then to create opportunities for, say, global corporations to come here because you have the right regulations, because you have the right leadership, because you can be trusted, because you have integrity, and because you create a civil service that is effective and that will not undermine your efforts as a government. I believe that it is possible for us to really transform our city and really make us globally competitive. And as someone, as I mentioned earlier, coming out as former Director General of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, when I really turned that place around and really provided quality advice to the federal government, working with my colleagues, and then coming out as Minister for Communication, and then, of course, Minister for Information, implementing the Heart of Africa project. I believe that Enugu is going to become one of the best known cities in Nigeria by the time that we're through, right? And but in summary, ladies and gentlemen, please, just in being practical, I love to keep it simple, dealing with the most basic issues, first of all, because that's the foundation upon which you're going to build everything else. And I believe that once we do this, then whatever else we're putting on top of it, in terms of improved curriculum, in terms of improved teacher training, in terms of improved economic policy, in terms of improved regulation, it will stand. And then it will definitely then hold firmly the companies, the businesses, and the rest of the world that would want to come to Enugu State at the end of my administration.
Thank you, Mr. Frank. Uche,
He can't hear you, so let's go straight to
Uche, sorry, excuse me. We the people sent a DM. He has not addressed his question.
Well, what was the question?
The one on job placements for praise singers that would be retired when maybe a senior government comes in, and then what's the water scheme investment worth, and how do you make it viable?
Okay, Mr. Frank, there is a question about the retired praise singers. What would be their place? Where would be their place in your government? Would you continue with them, or would you just retire them accurately? What would you do with them? Then second question is, if you remind me,
the water scheme investment worth, and how do you make it viable? These are his two
questions.
Okay.
What is the worth of the water scheme in Enugu, and how do you make it viable? Am I correct?
Yes.
No, I didn't hear the second part of it.
How do you make it viable? How do you make it viable?
Make what viable, my brother? I didn't hear.
Water
Sorry.
Water scheme investment. How do you make it viable?
How do you make it viable? Is there anybody that doesn't need water? That sector is viable by itself because you need water for everything. You need water for everything. Without water, no human being can survive. So the sector is already viable. The question then is, how do you structure it? How do you make sure that leakages are avoided, and that a metering system, an efficient metering system, is put in place, and that people do not undermine that system, right?
Mr. Frank, yes, before you go ahead, there's something someone raised on this very issue. And he said the business of water tankers in Enugu is controlled by the people in the government. There's also why they won't solve the problem. The problem is a revenue stream for them at those water stations at night mile. So how would you, there seems to be a cabal controlling this. How do you plan to, solve this very complicated problem before even solving the real issue? Because there seems to be some level of cabals who are in control of this industry.
Well, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm just a bit amused about this. And that is one. First of all, it brings us back to the issue of leadership, right? And short of joining the cabal when I become governor, then I'm going to be addressing it very firmly, very, very firmly, very, very firmly. We must restore the water infrastructure in Enugu, and then we will partner with the private sector in very open and transparent ways to really ensure that there's sustainable water supply in Enugu. Question of a cabal cannot supersede the interest of a cabal cannot supersede the interest of the people of Enugu. And so under my leadership, the people of Enugu State can be sure that their governor will always be on their side. It's not my intention to have any personal interest in these critical matters. I will never do it. And I believe that my record of service speaks to this on its own. So people can be rest assured about this, please. As I speak to you, I buy water in my house as well. I'm also aware that water is supplied to government house in water tankers. And so I'm not so sure that it is in anybody's interest for this water crisis not to be resolved. At least it's not going to be under my government, it's not going to be in anybody's interest. If it is in the interest of some people in the current administration, under my administration, there'll be no room for such consideration whatsoever.
All right. Thank you so much. I don't know if there is.
Peter will be black captain before your network takes you out again. Please ask a question.
If good evening, Peter.
Good evening.
Anambra Person, good evening. Mr. Frank, Uncle Frank, like I always call you, good evening. I think someone have already asked my first question, which is the issue of water. Enugu is synonymous with now no water. So would want to know how you address this issue head on. I carry this one, you're gonna go. The other one that is very dear to me, at the end, in case water the game now, one of the people who is fighting and ensuring, or rather continuously reminding the government the need for that is listening here, Temple or Nweke, and I'm sure you want to know your plans because water is so passionate to him. For my side, I'm looking at the environment. We've neglected it a whole lot in Enugu, and this is a sector where other nations make good money from. Okay, so what are you going to do with waste management? What are you going to do with the continuous depletion of our environment? Generally in Enugu, the number of trees in Enugu keep reducing on daily basis. And we think it's no issue, but it's a huge public health issue if we don't address it. Okay, what are you going to do about the contamination of our water bodies? What are you going to do about even the contamination of our underground water? Ebana don't pose waste and collect in Enugu now is the 9th Ugoyama, which also connects to the stream that's along that place, which most of the people in New Market used to water their this thing around along that stream. And we found out that eventually it comes back to us as a health issue because the heavy metals and all those contaminate the food, contaminate the underground water. These are the issues we don't see. Okay, is most times people focus on roads, but these are other important issues. So how are you going to address these environmental issues head on? They are very, very important. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I know our time is our time is almost up, but I would let me quickly address it. Thank you for raising these issues. I have since visited that scene of the landfill site in Ugoyama. And I look at it from on 2-3 levels. Number one is that I do not see how no one was thinking when that dump site was moved there. And what do I mean? How is it that as you approach the beautiful city of Enugu with those lovely hills, that the current administration felt that the best thing or the best site that should welcome visitors to this wonderful state is a massive dump site, that unsightly site, that's the best way to welcome people. It is something that grieves me greatly. So I share your pain, and I want to say that dump site represents a great opportunity for so many things for our state, great opportunities for recycling, a great opportunity for electricity generation, great opportunity if the refuse were sort of separated for even industry. And so it is going to receive very, very urgent attention from me as governor. The other thing that you spoke about is the issue of environment generally. I mean, it's part of it, yes. And the dumping of refuse into those water bodies, again, is because the people involved do not know. And so we must embark on a massive education because, like the last speaker said, when people talk about climate change and environmental degradation, there's always this tendency to believe, no, it's only in the developed countries or they are the ones that face it. No, but we are by felling trees constantly, we are setting ourselves up for adverse climate weather conditions in the coming months and years. And not many people know that the Sahara Desert was once populated by trees. And it is this unbridled and unchecked and unmitigated felling of trees that actually brought that about. But let me tell you another important problem that we must consider. Why do people fell the trees? People fell these trees for two reasons. One, as fuel for cooking, and then more recently, as for combustion as charcoal for export, right? And this is where government can then come in. That you find individuals who now come here and fell all the trees that are in our state and then burn it, turn it into charcoal and export to China. They do not have an idea of the land area of China, the kind of trees that they have, and the very strict regulation that makes it possible for unscrupulous elements to come from there, to come to our place, to come to Enugu and most parts of Nigeria, to come and fell these trees for export to their home countries. So it's a matter of regulation, it's a matter of public policy, and it's a matter of enforcement, and that is something that I'm going to do. And then someone like you, with the kind of interest you have, I'll be looking to invite people like you to government, because given the passion with which you spoke about it, hopefully you have some, some great ideas on how we can actually better manage these things in addition to whatever else that we're thinking. Another aspect of I want to talk about water, right? And just the importance of water. Yes, apart from drinking water, I'm not so sure that many of you realize that Enugu State has one of the highest is one of these, I think, the second or third worst state in terms of open defecation in Nigeria. And so you find that within the urban areas, in fact, not between most parts of the state, there's no access to toilet facilities, and people are forced to really do this in the open. And the most serious problem, in this respect, is that these things are quite prevalent in the urban areas. So I often say that almost 2/3 of the inhabitants of the city of Enugu live in the slums. And if you do not agree, I'm happy to let's have a challenge and I'll prove to you. And most of these people have no access to drinking water. Most of these people have no access to any kind of toilet facilities. And then they have to use nylon bags in some cases. And in some areas, there is a community toilet site in the open. Everybody sees you right there. And then say once in a week, they put kerosene or they put petrol on it and then burn it. In this city of Enugu, there are so many places where these things are happening. So you raise a very, very important point. And so when I say I'm going to keep it simple, I say so because of the information available to us, the visits I've made to these places, and then my determination to, first of all, put in place, give access to the most basic needs of human existence for a start. So thank you so much for that excellent question. And you can be sure that it is something I'll be receiving my attention. I need not even talk about the, the complete absence of human dignity, that you just have to strip yourself in the open or use nylon bags to relieve yourself and do something they call flying. It is just so unfortunate that in the 21st century, a city like Enugu, over 100 years old, can still be experiencing this kinds of underdevelopment. So I thank you so much for that question. And I hope that I'm already like 15 minutes behind another commitment. I don't know if I can be allowed to. I don't know if we can round up the next question or so that I can join this other meeting that I committed to some time back. Thank you so much.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mr. Frank? Because Uche has been yanked out by network issues. Can you hear me?
Hello, do you hear me?
Okay.
Ifechere, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I think he just cannot hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay, Victor Chimila, please go ahead and just talk to him.
Do you hear me?
Yeah. Good
Do
evening.
you hear me? Okay.
Victor, please tell him that he just cannot hear me.
I
Just
can hear
tell
you.
him.
You can't hear him, Mr. Frank.
But do you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. So I said earlier that I I thought we were going to finish at 9:30 because I made a commitment to another engagement. So I don't know if it's possible to if we can round up so that I can join this other.
Can I ask
Yes,
this
yes.
one? Yeah,
Yes,
this
please, of
question I
course.
want to ask. I've asked you this question before, though you answered, but to me, there's one place I went, I was discussing you, there was a statement they made. That is why I said I'm going to ask you this question again. The question is, to win, or are you running for maybe you just want to come and block? You know what they are doing? They're sending some people to block somebody because I know Chimaroke is around, is on Spaces. He has been saying so many things that Enugu is PDP, that anything that anybody is doing, and we know you are part of Ebano family. And the question I asked again, two questions in one: are you running to win? Two, if you are running to win, if you win, are you going to bring back the Ebano family back to this state? Because PDP have not done us good in Enugu. Everybody know PDP have not done us good. So these are my two questions. Are you running to win? Two, if you are running to win, if you win, are you going to bring back Ebano family into Enugu State?
Okay. Okay, thank you so very much. I've considered. I find it, I consider your question. It's kind of a bit amusing, but I don't find it funny at all. And I want to say categorically that I am in the governorship race as an independent, as a member of the All Progressive Grand Alliance. Our party primary was keenly contested, and I came out tops, and I'm grateful to God for this. I also want to say that I am running to win, and that I do not deny the fact that I worked with Chimaroke Namani as the chief of staff, right? I worked with him. He's my former boss. I respect him, I honor him. But in this political journey, he is in his own camp, the PDP, and I am in the All Progressive Grand Alliance. Onyagana 1 year, I am on this side with the people, because I believe that at a certain point in your life, you should be able to make an independent choice about who you are, what you stand for, and what you want to be known for. And at this point in my life, I want to be clear that I choose to embrace the concept of shared prosperity, which is what ABGA is about. And that is why I have chosen to leave the PDP. I agree with you completely that the PDP has not been fair to Ndibo, to the southeast. On the contrary, the southeast of Nigeria have shown the PDP great fidelity over the last 24 years. But I need not remind us on this space how they have treated us. Apart from the fact that our people were humiliated out of this party at the national level, let us even look at it in terms of infrastructure. That in 24 years of supporting the PDP, can we point to any major infrastructure which was put in place as a result of our association with the PDP at the national level? Then let us leave the national and come to the state. Let us look at the last 7 years, and if we believe in this state that the PDP has served us well, then the people claiming to be PDP, then you can choose to answer them in the way that you want to answer them. So please, for the avoidance of any doubt, I am in the governorship race to win. I honor Chimaroke as my former boss, but I'm not in any way on this journey with him. He is where he is with his candidate and his party. I am in my own party, the All Progressive Grand Alliance, and I'm the candidate of the All Progressive Grand Alliance. And I'm hopeful that our people will see that we cannot continue to hobnob with the PDP, a party that has no respect for Igbos. We cannot hobnob with a party that cannot keep its word. We cannot continue to hobnob with a party that has not fulfilled its promises to the people. We cannot continue to hobnob with a party that have not really recognized the diversity of our country, nor given us our due as people in the southeast. And I believe that this my response should answer the follow-up question about restoring the Hebano to government and things like that. No, I mean, there is no basis. I mean, because I'm sure that if they won, I'm sure they wouldn't want us around them. So if we win, we would have to work with the people to form a government that would serve the people and not just a group of individuals.
Thank you so much. Joshua, can you hear me? Please speak up. Joshua, can you hear me? Joshua.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
So,
Sorry,
help me relay what I'm saying to Frank, because I don't think he can hear me.
Mr. Frank, can you hear me? Can you hear her? Okay, don't worry. So you can talk to me out. I think he can hear me.
We tell him that we really wish that he could stay longer. If he can stay longer, it would be very nice to have.
Can you? Okay. So, I mean, I've answered that. That was my final response.
Yeah. She was asking, is there a way you can give us a little bit more of your time? Is it possible?
Well, yes, I would love to do that, but it's really not possible because I have these other people waiting for me, and some of them are not within. So yes, okay. But of course, I'm happy to come on the spaces. I hope this won't be the last one. I hope that you will allow me. I hope I will have opportunity to come back to the space again, my brother. Please.
Okay. If it's
just,
there, you've heard it.
Yes, just tell him that we'll meet him some other time.
Okay, sir. We'll meet you some other time.
Can you hear me? Thank you.
But give us some of the parting words before you leave. Just a few words before you leave.
I have one question for him.
Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really grateful. I've enjoyed the very incisive interaction that we've had. And let me restate the fact that I'm happy that the young people of this country, the young people of our state, are actually waking up to their responsibility, to their civic responsibility of holding leadership accountable, of interrogating people who aspire to lead them. And I hope that after now, we're not just going to all disband and go away. Even when the leadership has emerged, it is important that leaders followers hold these leaders accountable. The 2023 elections is going to be one of the most consequential elections in our history, because for the first time, I believe we are going to have proper elections and not the kind of written results that have characterized our electoral process in the years gone by. So I hope that you will see it for what it is, an opportunity for us to take back our state, an opportunity for us to take back our country, and therefore do everything within your powers to really mobilize your age group, mobilize your professional group, mobilize your neighborhood and your communities to really come out and vote, and then guide them, explain to them what the policy options are, what the agenda options are, to enable them make informed decisions. I have absolutely no doubt that, in spite of the present difficulties, that if the right leadership were to emerge across our states and then in our country, that Nigeria can go on the mend. So thank you so much. God bless you all. And I really look forward to the next interaction with you on this space. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. All the best.
Sorry, Joshua, I turned you to my office. I don't know how he was not able to hear me. I don't know. But
I think it's the network issue. Network in Enugu is really bad, especially if you're using MTN. Sorry, I had to say that, but MTN right now is very, very bad.
No problem. We've talked about governance and administration. We're supposed to go into politicking. How is Frank going to win? people are scared Abga stands no chance. But at least Enugu people are waking up to that realization that we want Ebano out. We want Chimaroke stooges out. We don't want them anymore in Enugu State, but we don't know how to go about it. Or maybe we do know, but it looks risky, high risk. And is it possible to do it? How do we go about it as a people? Enugu people, we have to wake up. Abia State looks like they're on the verge of liberation next year, but we can't say the same about Enugu State. So what can we do? Do you think Frank stands a chance? If he does, if you think he will do well, then what do you think? How can we put him in power? So if you want to speak, please request the mic and go ahead. All
Hello?
right, Christian, yeah.
Oh, okay, now we'll finally get the chance to talk, even though Frank is no longer here, but that's fine. Thank you very much, Ifechidera. So I've just been looking forward to this space and speak with Frank, but he's not here. So the very first time I saw his poster to campaign, I went to, I think, is it one of your posts to ask, is he really contesting to win? Just exactly the same question the other guy asked. Because I don't see those, when P2B was campaigning to even the primaries of PDP, he came out, he made statements that he is campaigning with all his might. So we didn't see those vibrancies in Frank. We didn't see the anger that what Ebano are doing in Enugu isn't right. And every single when I see some youths come to Twitter and write things about Ebano or how he's been the most writing son in this, it makes me just feel so bad, because every single person that grew up in Enugu knows how Chimaroke ruled Enugu and what Sullivan did when he came in, and then how Ugwuanyi now brought them back, and now how everything again has turned back to what it used to be before. So frankly, I don't think that Frank has any chance at the moment in terms of when you look at the political arena in Enugu and how people are I'm sorry to say, very somehow level of myopicness, poverty, and a lot of other issues. People are going to vote based on a lot of factors in terms of my uncle is going to get something from Mba if he wins. My brother has been promised this, and all those links has been laid already in different local governments, different categories and different levels, and these are already in people's minds. So immediately PDP declares their candidate, people have already accepted that person as the next governor, and they start doing every other thing. And you look at people, even when they know that these people has nothing in stock for us, but what can we do? Stomach infrastructure will rather vote someone that we know is going to win than vote someone we know that will do the job, even though he probably doesn't stand no chance of winning. So it's a very big problem in Enugu. So I really wanted someone that will stand up and say, okay, we want to take Enugu State back. Now, one of the questions I wanted to ask him is, what are we going to do, at least primary school education in Enugu State? Look at the deep local governments in Enugu now. Teachers that are bright enough don't want to go and live there. You understand? So you find a state where if you go to most of the interior primary nursery schools in Enugu, is just a mess. Now look at the health sector in Enugu State, for instance. I can assure you that if Enugu, for instance, Enugu State University of Science and Technology, now the PACLIN, the medical school in Enugu, if they graduate 50 students, the best 15, all of them is not going to be in Enugu in the next 2 months. If UNEC graduates 100 students today, radiographers, nurses, MLS, med-surg, the best 50 in all of them are not going to be in Enugu in the next 10 months. How do we stop all this? Okay. What are you going to do to even make doctors that are bright enough want to stay back.
Thank you, Christian.
So the only
Thank
ones
you.
that want to stay back are those ones that might not be able to pass USMLE or write one
I
or two
agree.
pass. So you
I
understand
agree.
now what do we
Yes.
do to keep these people, or do we just rely on those ones that can't pass international exams to treat our people? So what are we going to do? And Ebano groups are not even looking at all. Ebano groups just want to win the Enugu governorship election, and that is it. And it starts. Chimaroke has now established himself as Jesus Christ in Enugu now, and anything he says obviously is what's going to happen. And it makes me so angry when he comes to Twitter and try to paint himself. I know the last time when he was saying he blocked you, he blocked me too, because I said there was one tweet that he made. I said, "Is it a ban that I know or another one?" That was when he was still blocking people. He blocked me. I said, no problem. The next thing I knew is he unblocked me. He followed me. The next thing, I made another comment. He followed me again. I'll be like, okay, no, I don't really care. But the fact is, these people are now Jesus, and they kept youths in so much abject poverty that all they just want to do is collect 1,000 and start shouting,
so much,
Ebano is just everything. And it just makes you I just want to feel like, what is going on? Are we so hungry that we don't understand? Look at when Sullivan was governor of Enugu State. He started from Co Camp, all the single streets in Co Camp, down to Abani Road. He tied all of them, put street lights. And now, for instance, if you are a criminal and you steal something in it, before you go from one junction to another, you're going to meet a street light, and people are going to be waiting for street light. And he gave the security men a very, very good jeeps and a lot of very good cars. Crime was reduced in Enugu to zero. Now this one has come and just spoiled everything. It's gone back to worse. Like Enugu now is worse than before Chimaroke came in. Now you're going to Nigeria. I'm trying to travel to Enugu. I'm thinking,
Christian, can you hear me? Or
yeah, I can hear you actually, Faye. So I'm thinking,
okay, please, other people have to speak.
Yeah, okay, sorry, 1 minute. Now we go to my inner village, and then my mom you can't go to their farm because the herdsmen are there kidnapping everybody. So what are we even going to do? Frank is talking about agriculture. What are we even going to do? He said we'll have a lot of farmland. We can't even use them anymore. What are we going to inform state security? Is he rooting for state police? A lot of questions that he needs to answer anyways, but I think I need to hand the mic over to another people.
Thank you so much, Christian. It's one of the questions. He still has a lot of questions to answer. That's Frank and other candidates that will be coming on board. With this restructuring of state policing coming on, how would he? Because most of them just talk about it and they cede the responsibility of security or of securing lives and property, to the federal government. But now it's going to be their responsibility soon. So, how are they going to, wake up to that responsibility? But please, let's just be speaking less than 1 minute so that every other person can talk. Ego Daniel, please. And please, let's remain on track. Do you think Frank can do it? Do you think Frank can oust PDP?
Okay.
And if you think he can, then what steps can we take to putting him in?
Yeah, Ifechidere, good evening. Like I reiterated yesterday, not even yesterday, this morning, I was having a conversation with a friend, and then I'm like, see, if you are concerned about the state of Enugu or the state of the Southeast, then you put in the work. I think it's time for us to stop all this Eban or Chimaroke. No, we are giving them too much relevance. We have our own influence. What can we do? Let's try as much as possible to make use of that opportunity. There are people in our society today that we influence. Let's talk to them. No, I cannot continue to talk about Chimaroke. He has done his own. He has achieved his utmost dream of becoming the governor of the state and messed things up. I cannot continue to talk about him. So the onus is on each and every one of us to leverage on your people, leverage on your your friends and colleagues, telling them, reminding them of the problems facing Enugu and why they need to not just succumb to a PDP this, PDP that. No. As far as the problem, Enugu's problem is so big that one man cannot solve it. But at least we must start from somewhere. And there's no need to come and keep rolling out all of the problems. The devil in Enugu. Enugu is part of Nigeria, like it's everywhere. But what we can do ourselves to say is enough is enough. Chimaroke is representing me. He comes on social media to make a whole lot of noise. But look at the issues are here. His constituents, people are being chased away. The herdsmen are displacing people. He cannot speak about it. On Dagono, they come to the state, they make so much noise, but when they go out, you cannot even hear their voice. So that
Daniel,
person,
let me ask you a question. How do you think we can displace Chimaroke? Are we starting from the senatorial seat or just his hold on governorship? Since you're from his constituency.
Well, it's both. It's both. That is why I'm saying that, for example, in this coming election, people have been so about P2B, but let's not just make it about P2B. Let's make it about every political position in the Southeast. And again, if we want to solve this problem, let's also do it this way. Enugu is metropolitan in the sense that it is the homeland of Ndibu. So majority, almost half of people living in Enugu are non-Enugu, people from Anambra, Ebonyi, Imo, and what have you, apart from maybe the rural communities. Let's also leverage on this. This is somewhere that you have lived for years. There's an impact that you can make. If you have a PVC, it's time for you to come out and also vote to make sure that you have good governance in Enugu. Don't just make it to be like, oh, there's a problem of Nde Enugu, so Nde Enugu people should continue to battle with it. No. If we get enough votes from Enugu Urban in 2023, it is going to create a shift. It is going to displace this voting that they have held power for so long. The problem is that the people in Enugu Urban do not vote. And they have a great population. So that is something that we can leverage on. That also requires that the people, which are also Ndi Igbo, should be willing, just like in Anambra too. You have other Igbos living in Anambra, not just in Anambra that will come out and vote on election day. So if we can do it this way, we do it the same way in Abia State. For example, Aba has a whole lot of mixed up of Ndi Igbo living there. So if we can leverage this, it is going to create a whole lot of change in terms of whether those going for governorship election, state, Senate or House of Reps. So I think that's a good way to start. So not just talk about P2B, let's also make sure that people know that every political position matters. Thank you.
I like this angle you took, the Enugu Urban. Ikechukwu, please go ahead and speak. 1 minute.
Okay, good evening, finally. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, fine. It's quite unfortunate that I'm unable to talk to Frank, but I wanted to start from the fact reclaiming Enugu starts from the politicking. Then before we talk about the economic aspect of it and restructuring. But be it as it may, one is that everybody, including I'm from Nsukka, and I will tell you categorically that the emergence of Ebano family didn't go down well with people of Nsukka zone. But it's quite unfortunate that we don't have a credible contend or opponent to that, because all of them are still coming from the same camp. Be it Frank, be it Chijioke, be it any other person. All of them emanated from one point. But be it as it may, it is better that we take it from another angle than endorsing Ebano, who has been giving all assurance that Enugu belongs to a particular group of persons. And how to do that is taking leave from what the last speaker said. Can we go back to a structure? I'm a lecturer, and I don't do a neck job, which I'm entitled to, just because I need to go down to my ward and ensure that I vote and I mobilize. And I'm not doing it because I don't love the money, because some lecturers go to do a neck job because of the money they get. But for me, I'm interested on who becomes who. So I'm also happy that we are joining the space to ask for good governance. I'm also a very strong follower of P2B. In fact, I can give you compendium of whatever the track record of P2B. But I didn't just start, but because I started following Obi, having studied his antecedents all through. And I said to myself, this is a man that one can even try. But coming to Enugu, who do you think can contend against PDP? Is it Frank? Is it Edog? All of them are best of the same feather. But be it as it may, it's better we disorganize this already stamped, because the emergence of Peter Mba came like that's final, and it can be. So it's very, very annoying to me. But when we are just talking about politics. When you come to the aspect of the economic, how the governance aspect of it, I have a lot of questions that I need to face them with. When he came, Kweremadu was doing he presented his pathway, and I did a 14-page counter, which he called me, and he was like, can we talk? And I said, this is go and face whatever you said. You don't give people like us now empty promises. It doesn't work again.
I agree.
So all of them now, it's better we also organize a room where all of them can come, if we can get them. Because I will tell you, most of them are empty. They are just seeking for that seat. And that is what we must not allow to happen.
Okay.
So they should come with their vision, their document. We will analyze that. I'm an economist. If they don't know, we tell them what to do. I heard when we are talking about water, the simple thing is just how to summarize just one issue of how can we get water security. When you talk about water security, you're talking about accessibility, affordability, sustainability, and reliability too. So you are telling me that you can do this, or water, is it affordable? Is it reliable? If you can get water by your door, is it what somebody can drink? So, but I don't want to deviate, since we are not talking about the governance aspect. But in terms of the politicking, we must go down to our roots. And we must hold our councillors, we must hold them down for them not to decide that they are tools in hands of the government.
Thank you, Chicken.
And we need to tell them that they must not. Let me also bring it to you that one of the annoying statement that they do when they want to praise the government, they will tell you, that is a enslaving statement, and anywhere no there, I will always want to go against it. Who is he to determine my own choice? No. So let us start coming up in that angle from our homes, villages, world, and come up. Ebano, when it's time, we will write, Enugu is not for sale. If Uruburu bought his position through, he cannot sell us and mortgage our future. So we must vote against them. Then the point is, who is in better position to take it from
Thank
them?
You so much, Ikechukwu. Thank you so much. We'll
Thank
be
you,
rounding off
Ikechukwu.
soon. So let's have the people that are on the platform to at least speak for less than a minute so that we round off, please. Ibis, you were going to talk.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening. Please go ahead.
Good evening, guys. Yeah, I don't think that Frank is ready. Like your question you posed, if Frank is ready to depose the urban or whatever they call themselves, I don't think he's ready for it, because you notice every 4 years, Frank often come up, print posters, he lose the election, he goes back without doing anything, without sensitizing the people, the need, why he is the man for the job. This is not the first time he's contending.
Sorry to interrupt you. just a quick fact to put out the facts there. This is the first time that Frank Nweke Jr. will be coming out to contest for the governorship of Enugu.
That's the point I'm making. That this is not the first time.
No, I'm saying this is the first time.
This is the first time.
This is the first time.
If it's okay, I don't know. If this is his first time, this is his first time.
I'm from Enugu State. I can categorically tell you that this is not his first time.
Well,
please,
I am also from
Enugu.
Kindly
share with us, please.
If you have facts, yes.
I know that in 2000 and that should be which
he
year
ran
was
for
that?
Senate. He ran for Senate under PDP and didn't make it through the primaries. That's for sure. But governorship, this is his first time ever.
I have to research on that. Thank you for the correction. I have to research on that. But I know I've seen his videos where he is trying to.
Because it's important that when we are having these conversations, they should be backed up by fact.
Yeah, because
so
I know
that
I've seen
others are not misled. All right, you can go ahead. Thank you.
But I don't think that being established, but I don't think he's ready. Because if you go out there on the street, if you ask common man, who are you going to vote for? All of them sing one song. We are going to vote PDP. If you ask them, why are you voting for PDP? They say there's no any other candidate. Who else? I think that's where the work starts from. Sensitizing the people. Because first of all, the PDP in Enugu State have only succeeded in doing one thing, impoverishing the people. Because they know they have a post-Commonwealth. Every now and then they carry them around, give them 1,000, and they sing their praises. If you go to the remote areas in Enugu, you will notice what I'm talking about. Every time PDP conducts any political rally, you see people. All they clamor for is 1,000 that the political parties give to them. And PDP is the only party in Enugu that is capable of doing that because they've used poverty, hunger as a tool of control to keep the people where they want them to be. So I think every now and then, if I meet people, I try as much as possible to sensitize them. This lies on each and every one of us listening to this platform who are disenchanted with what PDP, the way PDP is going about in Enugu. We need to start telling them about other options that exist.
Exactly.
PDP is not the only option that exists. Even if the party that we are supporting did not win, but let's make a bold statement so that they will know it's not business as usual. Because people will say, oh, if I vote for other people, they are not going to win. But if PDP notice that the margin at which they win this election is very close, believe me, they will sit up. So I think it lies on us individually to sensitize the people for them to see other options, other candidates that are credible that will lead Enugu State. Thank you. That's my submission.
Well, I think that this momentum Obi is commanding right now, it was started by the people, it's still being sustained by the people. If such can be, transferred to a state candidate, then it would help in a great way. People people have this, herd mentality and all. And it's just, I think the people just want to see a group of people take it up and start. They just need that boldness, just to inspire them, to motivate them, and tell them it's possible to do it, and then they take it up from there. That's what I believe. For Enugu State, if you notice, there's a lot of fear mongering, even on the timeline, from Ibano people and Chimaroke, a lot of threats, and it's like, come and jostle with me, let's see. Then you use some proverbs like, you trying to play your master, take power from your head. How is it possible? That kind of thing. So issuing threats here and there, trying to instill fear in people, like power belongs to them. But actually, power belongs to us. It resides with us. So if we can, go out without fear and inspire other people and motivate people, then I think it's possible. Victor Chemila.
And do you think before the next speaker,
okay,
maybe something we can consider? Do you think, considering the fact that Frank Nweke Jr. is in APGA, do you think we can have the Soludo effect from Anambra maybe like a spiral effect across as we draw closer to the elections. So this is something for us to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people are even saying, if just even if it's just to oust PDP, let us bring in Edoga from the Labour Party, since Labour Party has that momentum. But there's a lot of reservations with his candidacy and how he played out as Commissioner for Environment. He didn't work at all. So just because we want to remove PDP, we now install someone else. I don't know how wise it is, but but if we're going to be very street smart, I would say possibly just remove PDP. Let us rest. And then, well, if there's some kind of alliance between Labour Party and ABGA, it'll be good. If Soludo, but it's just that I think ABGA doesn't have structure in other states, so I don't think they can command such clout like Labour Party or PDP. But let's just watch out and see how we please, and also, of course, do our own work. Who was supposed to speak? Okay, fourth voiceless, dearest Jessica, please, 1 minute. Let us round up, please.
Okay. For the voiceless.
Yes, for the voiceless. Thank you. Was it Ifechi Dibele? Abi? You have said exactly. Okay, Ifechi, you have said what I wanted to say. Frank is a good candidate. If you are talking about the only problem he will have is because PDP is the ruling party there. But if Labour Party and APGA can work together, I think they can win Enugu State. And that's the best way to go about it. The other, you can't say because Take Back Nigeria is all about taking back Nigeria. So when we are voting, we are not voting for the party. We are voting for the candidate. I keep telling people this. Like, as we see Frank Nweke as a good candidate, they can campaign for him. Like you said at Enugu State, what we are doing at Labour, doing rally and others, I think if they do, people will know that, look, this one is coming out. And he's a popular man. He's popular. It's only for we to work for his victory. And that's what I have to say for now.
Okay, thank you so much.
And I mute my mic. Thank you.
Thank you. Ede Felix.
Yeah.
Okay, please go ahead. 1 minute.
Good evening, everybody. Actually, I don't know. Our issue with Ebano is getting out of hand. Ebano is a menace. Ebano is a tout. Ebano, hello, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Ebano is a devil. It's the worst thing that have ever happened to Enugu State. I don't know how we have lived through all these years without being able to break away from this man's godfatherism. This has become too much and unbearable. I was expecting that I wanted to ask Frank a question, but unfortunately I couldn't. But for him, yeah, he's not showing seriousness. That's the actual truth. Because by now he's supposed to be hitting grassroots. I don't think that anybody that wants to fight the establishment should be afraid of threats. Threats will come. Just like you see P2B, if he tell you the other day he was talking on space, on Zoom, he wanted to mention about the threats, but he just immediately cut it off. So threats will come. But for you to face power and collect power, you must be able to know and face whatever that will come with your way if you are serious about it. By now, you're supposed to have been consulting, being on the grassroots, being on critical places, go to market, talk to people one-on-one, let them see your face. Enugu State is not big that you cannot tour around. You cannot be touring around every day, go here, go to Bene today, go to Apa today, go to Nsoka, go these places, meet market people, meet people face to face, let the ordinary people see you. These are the things that you're supposed to be doing now, to be raising awareness and be planting seed in the heart of people. But I don't see that in him. He needs to do more. He needs to do more so that he can encourage some of us. Because somebody like Frank, okay, Frank is somebody like Mba. Mba is my brother, but I don't want to vote PDP. And it because of because of what they are displaying, pertaining Obi. Imagine calling Obi supporters obituary. My own brother, just because of politics, they are not calling us obituary. Follow other people to be calling us obituary. That is insulting. Over my dead, but I will not vote for them. Even if it's my father that is under that PDP, I won't vote for him. I won't vote for him. If they let them continue this way, in fact, if they win Enugu State in this governorship election, I know that Enugu State they are just banned. They are. I don't know whether cause to remain in PDP. I don't want to cost my state, but it's very, very unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate. Thank you so much.
It's not a cause. It's not a cause. Let's not be like those Africans that ascribe, something that we cannot attain, something that we don't want to give some kind of high level of process thinking to, and say, oh, it's juju, oh, it's this. It's not a curse. We have to do it by ourselves and show that we really can do it. But other states are doing it. Anambra did it the last time. They took power. The Abga is in power now.
Absolutely.
Abia State is doing it. Alex Otti has been doing the groundwork and mobilization, and it looks like he would win. States are high on his part.
He is doing something. At least he's on the grassroots. I don't see him.
No. Ede, can I answer you?
Yeah.
How do you know that Frank is not doing much?
How do I know?
I think that's another thing we need to address.
I've not seen him. I've not seen him.
No. Excuse me, Ede. Yes, you are obedient, okay?
Okay.
What I will suggest is that because the way you are sounding, you are rooted down there, okay? Why not work with the APGA, march together, and make a movement? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Organize a rally for him. Get in touch with Frank. If there is a way he's doing it that you feel that it's not the best way to do, you make a suggestion to him. If you want to get him, fine. After this, I can DM you and make sure that I connect two of you together. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you,
Jessica. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For the fourth point. As a matter of fact, before we the people, you actually touched on something, and I think